Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to the Brothers in Influence podcast, where we stand to encourage, inspire, and add value to Black men in the areas of life, leadership, and community. We consist of five brothers discussing relevant topics with candor and care. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go. One more round of applause as we slide on in to episode 18.
18.
Yes, sir.
Episode 18, man. We almost to 20. We 2 away from 20, man.
It's amazing.
Hey, y'all might get a backflip out of me. We hit 20. I might hit that backflip. Now, what's going to happen after I hit the backflip? It's probably me going to hit the ground.
You're going to be live from the hospital?
Right. They be like, what happened to him?
Or his wife's going to take his place and tell us about ourselves the next
Uh-oh.
Hey, she coming here and wreck house too. We be like, oh, well, so much for the buzz and influence.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I might need to think about that. We might need to have like a ladies round table. You know what I'm saying? Let them get on here and have a conversation, see how that plays out.
I like that. I like the round table. Yeah. As long as we can be in the conversation so we can, hit mute real quick. I'm going to get in trouble later, ain't
I? Right. Listen, my name is Ian Williams, your purpose coach. You can find me on Twitter at Son of the King 02 and on Instagram at Ian Coaches. I'm sitting shoulder to shoulder with four giants. Man, we might look the same size, but in spirit, man, they all so much bigger than me. I just want to create a space for them to introduce themselves because my hype man game ain't on the level where it needs to be to introduce them. So without further ado, my brothers, who wants to go first?
Yeah, with an introduction like that, who wants to step on that? Right? But hey, I'll do it. Hey, this is Sherrod Ledet, your leadership locksmith. I coach entrepreneurs to unlock their unique leadership identity, right? Helping you reach that next level of leadership legacy. Hey, I look to connect with anybody. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook.
Hey.
Yes, sir. This is Lorenzo Daughtry Chambers. This is Lauren Joy here with me. This is my daughter. She's 3. So good to be with you guys again on this Monday. My name is Lorenzo, and my company name is LDC Enterprises. You can find me at Win with Lorenzo on all social media. That's also my website. And if you could not tell, my mission is to help people win, to help them succeed, whatever your game is. And we're all playing a different game. I help you to win. I help people close the gap from where they are to where they need to be in a holistic space. So if there's any assistance that you might need, I probably hold the key or know somebody who does. That's probably more so the secret to it. I know a lot of folks and have a lot of resources to get stuff done. So I'm excited to be here participating as a part of the conversation. And I'm going to swing it over to Shartae now.
Shartae Price, once again, on all social media networks. I am your leadership and I want to say, don't forget to, I always want to throw this in there. Because it's, what is it, Ian, again?
Financial coach.
No. Ian and what coaches?
Oh.
At Ian Coaches.
At Ian Coaches. So just to know, y'all can find me over there too. But I am your leadership and financial coach.
We're going to clean that up for next time.
Right. As at coaches, as in the action, bro. But I represent for all my brothers, and I'm grateful to be shoulder to shoulder with you guys. And again, I'm gonna get my height game up. So next time I'm gonna do it real big. You know what I'm saying? I have fireworks going off in the background and all type of stuff. That's what y'all deserve.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though, man. You look at them, showing off. Like, you doing big things over there, right? You are inspiration. Oh. Yeah, you are inspiration. So, Hats
No
off to
doubt
you, big
about
man.
that.
Yes.
Hey man, y'all ever see that Spider-Man meme where the two that just look just like they just point at each other? That's what I feel like we're doing right now.
Well, let's make it a thing then. That's him.
Right.
That guy.
Yeah.
That guy.
My boy over there. Trying to be like you, bro.
Yeah. Hey, or we can get like your man that was like last week. Was it last week when you did the video when my man was counting or they was adding numbers and he had the man across? He was like, "Yeah, that's my boy."
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
He was adding numbers. He was killing it.
Yeah, that's what's up. So in that spirit, man, how's everybody doing, man?
Good.
I'm good, man. Me and Aubrey was out shopping, getting food, and then of course I had to do that, time to clean the fridge out. So did a little cleaning the fridge, putting food in the fridge, So yeah, it's been a pretty good day. Another long weekend, but I ain't complaining.
Hey. Lorenzo, why don't you get that note, brother? Like the old school, I won't complain.
You know, that's so funny because I was thinking that in my head and I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Oh, you got to do it now. You got to do it now. Go ahead.
That's a classic right there. That's the joint.
Get you a sip of water real quick and it's going to hit that.
I don't know who the I think I want to say it's Walter Hawkins, but for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, there's a song by Walter Hawkins called "I Won't Complain," or he is singing it. The lyrics go, "I've had some good days, I've had some bad days, I've had some weary days, I've had some hills to climb, but when I think things over, I don't even know the rest of the song." But that was in lieu of me singing. You can go on YouTube and check it out yourself.
I had some.
Sing that, brother. Yeah, hit it.
Man, yeah, we gonna play with it like them old school cats wasn't going in either, because them notes ain't that easy to hit.
No.
It sounds easy. Like I feel like everybody can sing it, but
especially if it ain't your lane, right? Hey, know your lane. Know your lane.
Y'all are not gonna have social media on meme channels up here trying to sing that song.
Yeah,
I'm a little rusty, but it's a little bit of my lane though. But I'm just saying.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Let me find out. Yeah.
Look, we can put you up here, bro. There you go.
Yes, sir.
Let me find that video and play it for y'all right quick.
Oh man.
Hey, that's what.
I'm like, hey,
Right. You forgot who was behind that keyboard, Playboy. That's he put you straight on blast. Like, boom, stage. That's
like,
yeah.
Yeah, man. All right, well, who else? What's up? What's going on?
What about you, brother? How was your week?
Yeah.
My weekend was good, man. Man, I've had so much going on. Like I said last week, I called my brothers. I was like, man, I'm kind of feeling overwhelmed. Got some encouragement from these giants on here, and they lifted me up. But things are going well, man. Better than I can think, dream, or imagine. I'll just say that.
You know, it might be dope, Ian, if you tell the people like what you did and some of the things I've been developing. Why don't you testify a little bit?
Yeah, man. So, well, I don't know if I'm ready. I'm not. All right. No, well, I'll just say this.
That's cool, because we don't want no testimony.
We'll be.
We good.
Not a testimony. Not a testimony. Wow.
We don't want to. We don't want. You supposed to testify. I testify.
Right. I talked a little bit about it last week. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in school. So that's one thing. We got the business, of course, Reconcile Coaching and Therapy Services, which we're in the process of moving into a physical space. So that in itself is a major blessing, a major key, because we're going to be opening it up to the public soon. Our peoples are encouraging us to do a grand opening, do some, have some events around it. We got the space, and it's just an amazing opportunity, and it's no wonder that I can only give credit to the Most High, because this time last year I was on the verge of being laid off. So
talk, King.
to come out of just about 20 years of corporate experience, to run into a pandemic that none of us anticipated going through, to being furloughed and being told, hey, you know what I'm saying, we got you. We'll still bring you back in 3 months. To then at the end of those 3 or 4 months saying, hey, you know, we're going to move a different direction because we need people to be on the phone, and you ain't on the phone no more. You ain't been on the phone for a long time. So you was in your training and developing our leaders. We appreciate you, but that ain't in the budget. We just need folks on the phone right now. Right. But here's the thing about it. I reached out to my close friends 20 minutes before that conversation happened. I said 3 things can happen. I said, worst case scenario, they can fire me and not give me no severance. I said, okay scenario, they could ask me to come back. Best case scenario, they could let me go and give me that severance so I can invest it in my business. Because for the last 3 or 4 months, I ain't just been sitting here. I've been working on launching into entrepreneurship. God knew I needed that 3 to 4 months to shift my mindset from working for somebody else to working for myself.
Yeah.
And so a year later, I'm still in business. The bills are paid, the lights are on. You know what I'm saying? We ain't missed a now bill throughout everything that went on. And I know that's not everybody's story, but I'm just telling you how God kept us.
Yes. Talk that talk, King. It's so important, Ian, for you to talk about the goodness of God and the sustenance. And for anyone that is watching out there, you know, I want you to listen to this man's story and this man's testimony and all of ours in our own right. Like, the thing that connects us is the coaching and the consulting and just being friends. But you know, one of the reasons Ian talks about everybody on here being a giant is because everybody in their own right is doing so many powerful things. And so I feel led to just put some emphasis behind, if anyone is watching, if anyone is connected. Ian is so modest, but what he does is, as you've heard him say, is leadership training, development, and coaching at a very high level, him and his wife together. And they also have a counseling, and what they do is so unique. And so I want to encourage you all, if you have a need, if you're in an organization, get connected with Brothers in Influence. We're sitting here hanging out, being cool, but like, if you have a company, if you have an organization, we're at a point now where I'm telling you to reach out to my brothers. I'm so proud of you, Ian. I'm so proud of you, Shartae. I'm so proud of you, Sherrod. I'm so proud of all of us and all that is going on, being husbands, being fathers, being friends, being lovers of your wives, right? All of these things are super important. And so, I don't know, somebody is listening to this. I want you to be inspired that if they say God is no respecter of persons, right? So if God can do it for Ian, if God could do it for Sherrod, if God could do it for Shartae, if God could do it for myself, he can also do it for you. And
yeah. What's that saying? If he did it for one, that means he's in the neighborhood.
Right.
So if he's So if he's in the neighborhood, that means he's walking the streets. That means you got to get out, right? You got to get out there and get started, get going. Yeah. Because again, what he's done before, he can do it again. Right. If he's done it in the past, that means he can definitely do it because again, everything starts and ends with him. So he has no end. Right. He has no end. So
yes.
Yeah. And I just have to rephrase something that my brother said. He said that we are friends. This ain't friends and influence. This is brothers and influence. Brothers and influence. There's a difference. Right. Brothers lean on each other.
Hey, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Brothers lean on each other. Friends talk to each other.
Yep.
Yeah. Brothers pull you up. Right. Friends just hold you. Yeah. So, this is Brothers of Influence. This is what we do. We brothers. We done passed the friend mark.
Y'all done started and we ain't even started.
Yeah, I know. We just jumped into it. Hey. Yeah.
Right. And you know what? I just want to share one more thing. Like, things were going well. I was growing. I was almost content just growing from a mindset perspective, from a belief and a faith perspective. Before I really started to get, the business really started to make money. Honestly, it wasn't until the rug was pulled out from under me. Now it wasn't pulled, and I didn't notice it. And you know what I'm saying? And trip and fall. I jumped off that mug, and it, it was muted. They was like, "You taking this really well." I was, you know what I'm saying? I just told my boys 20 minutes ago, this was the best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because God, I had already been moved into a place in my heart, in my mind, in my spirit that this was the direction, this was the season that I was in. But once I did that, then the money started to come in. And we've been good ever since. And that was last August, literally 11 months ago.
So, drop those keys.
Now, because there's an important message in that. And the important message in that, and I know we just supposed to be rapping, but you dropped.
No, come through.
Yeah.
We in the spirit right now. Just keep.
The message in that was, again, the fact that you was already preparing, right, for his revelation. The preparation is what gave you the revelation. He allowed you, right? And that also just shows your faith and your ability to move into the position that you really asked for, that you were really looking for. Mm-hmm. But you just needed that, and you said it perfectly, right? That, again, it was just the rug didn't get pulled, you jumped off of it. Right? You jumped off of it, which means you just jumped into what, again, God had already opened the door. So you just jumped into the door. You just opened it and went through it. You was being obedient. And sometimes I think that's the biggest thing that holds us back. And I'm just going to speak and testify, right? Not test a lie, but testify that, again, I think I missed a lot of opportunities because I wasn't obedient. Because I missed the opportunities to move when he told me to move. But that's okay, because he's a loving and forgiving God, right?
Amen.
So,
and we know that you're not alone. You know, with the way that God has blessed us. Hindsight is 2020, right? Mm-hmm. I know. I actually can testify that God has been dealing with me about trusting Him for 6-7+ years. You know how
let's do this. Let's do this. This is important. If we're not speaking, let's mute out. If we're not speaking, let's mute out. Let the speaker speak.
You want to get you know how like you want to get a word from the Lord, and you seek Him for yourself. Personal relationship is beautiful. But every time I would go, all I'd hear is trust, trust, trust. And I study the word, and I'm a teacher of the word. I've been teaching the word since I was in middle school. So I could get in the book, and I could see see so much revelation. Of course, every time you get in, you know, the Spirit can move and quicken you. But I'm like, you know, I know, but it's in my mind, logically, intellectually, I have understanding. Like it says in Proverbs, you have understanding more than all of your teachers. That's what revelation does for you. But God just kept reiterating to me, trust. And I kept stumbling because I wasn't quite where He wanted me to be trust-wise. And so it only goes so far. You know, trust and faithfulness go hand in hand. I think we were just discussing a meeting. I was discussing a meeting with Brother Sherrod the other day. He said, ministered to him that I had shared, because it ministered to me. That's why. You know, it just simply said, God doesn't want you to be perfect, which is, I'm a recovering perfectionist, and where God wants you to be faithful. And when you try to be perfect, it means you're trying to be God. You know how we used to say, God, you're on the throne. You're on the throne of my heart. Let me get off the throne so you can sit on the throne. But when you're trying to be perfect, that means you're on the throne, because you don't fully trust God. But being faithful means you trust God's perfect plan for your imperfect life. And I just pulled up an album this past weekend by my man Swoop. I know y'all. I mean, I'm a Christian hip hop head. I'm a hip hop head in general. But he said what did he say? He said to give no F's. That's not me. I give a few F's. I only give 3 that I'm flawed, free, and favored. That's just how I'm feeling right here, right now, knowing what God has done for me over the last year, how He's kept us, how He's provided for my family, myself, how He's allowed me to keep my man card and continue to, bring food into the storehouse by grace. Trust, guys, trust. And when I trusted Him by stepping out on faith in regards to this business and entrepreneurship, He has not failed to deliver yet. Come on through, fellas. Sherrod?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Ah, okay, my bad. I'm over here putting the button like, am I muted? Yeah, bro, I don't even know what to say because I mean that was good. That was good. That was nah. You know what? I do know what to say. Outside of just no. Real talk. Thank you for that. Right. Thank you for that. Because I'll be honest, that ministered to me just from the perspective of here's the reality. I'm there. Right. I'm there. It's a little different.
Yeah.
But I think we all have that trust factor, right? That level of trust. And there's always a level to it. Right. Even when you get to one level and you're like, okay, I trust you, Lord. And you honestly really do at that level until something else comes. Right. And just making me think. So I was just got back from vacation with my family, right? We went to Cocoa Beach, spent some time down there. And man, just being out there on the water, just watching so many lessons, so many things that I could see just from the ocean, right? And just thinking about just, again, trust. And what I was saying is that, like you're saying, again, being able to step out. I mean, it's life is a lot like the ocean, like the water, right? The waves that come. I even spoke to this a little bit last week, but it's so much deeper than that. So we can withstand the wave if we see it. But when you got your back to it, it can knock you off balance, or it can even knock you over. Right. And then depending on how good of a swimmer you are, depending on how big of the wave it was, if it catches you off guard and hits you from the back and knocks you over and you go under the wave, you might panic. No trust. There's nothing. Like you at that particular point, you got to trust in your own ability to be able to get up and swim and whatever the case may be if you get knocked by that wave. And I think that's everybody's testimony that we're all in the water. We've all been hit by a wave, the ones that we've seen and the ones we haven't seen. And just because you see a wave doesn't necessarily mean that you can get through it. It might be bigger than your ability, but God's bigger than that. So that whole trust factor, and I could go on, but I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah.
No doubt.
If I could just share this quickly, it may seem unrelated to many, but it is extremely related because the Spirit is moving. And I would wait to share this with Ian prophetically. And so I was deciding whether or not I would say anything here on the platform. But this word isn't only for Ian, but it's also for those who would connect with it. But Ian brought it into the space for all of us. But that is that there is real estate favor for you to go out and to buy and to purchase. that there will be opportunities available, not only commercially for your business, but also for upgrades on homes, if not a new home, but even upgrades you've been looking to do in the house. And it sounds crazy. Like, why would the Spirit speak about that, Ian? It's a part of your development. It's a part of the blessings of the Lord for your faithfulness, for your steadfastness, for your contribution. I don't know if you've been thinking or sensing or having any conversations with your wife in these areas, but these are areas that the Lord is moving in. And again, we prophesy to edify, and we're edifying Ian, but literally it's for the guys on this call and the people who will connect. It won't be thousands of people listening to this, but if you're listening to this, it's for a purpose and reason. And connect with the real estate favor that is abounding by the Spirit of the living God. Amen.
I received that, bro. And in fact, we have been talking a little real estate, so I'm gonna just put that out there.
Glory, glory, glory. Glory, glory. So I also gonna pull us out from the depths at this moment. So Ian, what is our topic? You know, we're for a half an hour in, but the Spirit of God is doing what God is doing. This is a part of it. And I've been ministered to, all of us have been ministered to. The listener, we hope you've been edified and blessed so far. So Ian, why don't you go ahead and take us forward in where the Spirit is designing for us to go?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely have a topic to discuss today. I mean, I think we've been on a roll, like everyone has said. I don't want to leave it misquoting my guy, Swoop, but he said, "You get no F's, that ain't me. Yeah, I give F's, but only 3. Yeah, I'm flawed. I'm really forgiven and free. So not favored and free, but I'm flawed. I'm really forgiven and free. In that order." But today we are talking about healthy character and compromise. We are continuing our conversation from last week around character and some of our choices and the role that compromise has to play in the lives of individuals who are committed to living out their purpose and their values. So, Brother Chaute kind of reviewed the tape last week. He rolled back the tape. He was in the lab. He brought back some points for us to discuss. Bro, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, run it in.
So as we were talking, Sherrod, he asked the question, say, what is compromise when you think about character? And we did have a little discussion on it, but I wanted to dive a little bit back in because, and I think this was last week, I kind of made this statement too, where everybody knows what a Christian shouldn't do. I think I made that last week.
Yes,
sir. And it's the same thing when we talk about character. So, and that's what people quick to say, well, you're a Christian and opposed to that. So they saying basically what they're saying is you are compromising. However, yes, there is a standard of us saying we are believers. There is a standard, yet and still there's a process too. Right? Because if I've been doing my own thing for 20 years, everything ain't gonna change overnight. So basically, I just want to dive back into what is compromise, what isn't, because at one moment, like I say, my top 3 values are dealing with faith, family, and financial freedom. Now, those are my top 3 values. So everything needs to come through that. If I say I really value these things, now because I may do something because I'm going in a direction with those things. I'm going in a direction. Those are 3 distinct things, and so if I have a plan, I'm starting a business. So how does those three distinct values work into my business? And if I did something that may seem contrary to one of those things, that doesn't necessarily mean I've compromised, because I might be in a process of growth and doing things better than everybody else might be been looking at. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. Like, hey, we need to kind of jump in there a little bit more and dive into that.
Yeah, man, that's good. As we kind of dug in last week, we were talking about how Compromise can play out when we say that something is important and valuable to us, and we don't keep our word, like we don't practice what we preach. Um, it's a part of being human, right? That's where that flawed aspect comes in, um, and maybe depending on nature versus nurture, the way the environment you grew up in. If you're a survivalist, you just had to adapt and do whatever you needed to do. But we're trying to move from survival to thriving, right? We're not just trying to make it. We're trying to have life and have that more abundantly. So what does that look like to be our best self? And what does it look like to recover from mistakes and failures? And we said it's not the failure that defines you, right? It's not the failure that defines or shapes you or dictates who you are. A lot of it is our response to the failure. How do we, when we fall off the bike, what does it look like when we get back up? Are we ready to jump back on and keep it moving? Are we going to throw a tantrum, roof the ball, et cetera, et cetera? Let it bring the worst out of us, or we're going to let it sharpen us. Every loss can become a lesson, right? And I think all of us on here have been through enough where we can say that that's true. And whether it took 10 years to learn from it or a moment, that is, we understand that is a choice, right? We can choose to reflect, to ponder, to process our feelings, to sit with them. And it touches so many things that we've already talked about. As Brothers in Influence podcast, we are mental health advocates. We realize that avoidance is not a healthy coping method. So you can get down to the nitty gritty, where you can really have a conference with yourself and really work through the things that you've been through. The better off you can be, right? And sometimes those things are a bit too big for you. Honestly, there's things that are too big. Like we might have been able to power ourselves through with brute strength before, but that doesn't mean it's going to work every time, right? And that's honestly nothing to brag about. We need each other. We need community. We need connection, whether that comes from roundtables like these discussions or from a coach or a counselor there to support you and hold you accountable, and remind you of what you said you would do and what you said you wanted and what you said you believed. And then on the flip side of that, as Brother Shante brought back to us, sometimes decisions we make because we are sticking with our values that we say are most important can look like compromise. For example, when we're in an unhealthy relationship, whether that relationship is friendship or even family membership or associateship or relationship to a job. I'm about to start preaching. All the ships. Sometimes you might need to cut somebody or something off in order for you to be able to live your best life. And oftentimes when people look at us, those of us that love people, that believe in people, that want to add value to people, it's like, oh, I thought you was such and such. I thought you was the man of the people. But in all reality, we are sticking to what's most important: faith, family, financial freedom, faith, family, adding value. And because of those things, I'm having to break ties. It's like Shante brought up, sometimes what we get caught up in is enabling. I don't think he said that, but I'm saying that we enable people by just giving in to what they want, meeting their expectations, meeting their needs. Where we're giving them fish and not teaching them how to fish. They're not interested in learning how to fish, and they might be taking advantage. Or maybe there's something in them that's triggering something in us, and we need to step away so we can work on it. Don't mean we don't love you, but if I can tell you, there are times when I'm around people that I care about that I don't like who I am around them. So what does that mean? You need to be aware of that. You get that gut feeling and you get that discomfort. Now, what is that? I don't like who I become around you. So I either need to withdraw and go on about my business, or I need to step away, work on myself to the point where I neutralize, right? whatever that is, and then I can come back and support you. But until that time comes, it may not be in my best interest, and I may not be the help you need until I get that taken care of.
Yeah, I like how you kind of sum that up, because again, you not necessarily saying because of how you're feeling with them necessarily means it's their fault, right? It could be something that you need to deal with, right? Or something you need to change, something you need to, and that's one that's so healthy, right? But I also think it's the best approach sometimes. Again, where it's so easy to sit there and point the finger and saying that you're the problem, or the other person, or the situation, or whatever is the problem, and forgetting that again, you are a part of the equation, right? A part that and what jumped out to me when you were talking about all the ships, right? Relationships and some of the ships you just made up, right? Whatever that was. But what's important about a ship? It needs a captain, right?
Okay.
It needs a captain. And if you're in a relationship, that means you are a captain, because you have the responsibility, and you have, again, control of how that relationship turns out. Now, again, the relationship, depending on how that relationship is, I mean, you can get into the weeds with that. But what I'm trying to say is that, again, in a relationship, or using the ship, that again, you have control over those situations. Yeah. A lot more control than you think you do, or a lot more control than that relationship, or whatever the case may be, allows you to have. But it's when you identify it, right? It's even when, like what you said, and again, that awareness, being able to, again, and it also going to fall back to your ability to have a healthy self-awareness, right? Emotional intelligence, being able to know and understand, again, how self-awareness impacts you, being aware of who you are and what's going on, but then the regulation, right? That's another part of of emotional intelligence, is self-regulation, being able to understand and how to be able to regulate what is going on from a perspective of what do I need to change, and how is that impacting, the relationship, or even other people's behavior, right? So even with compromise, because that's what we're talking about, compromise basically is kind of making concessions, right? It's making concessions. And if we think about just from a character standpoint, so that's what we're talking about, character and compromise, we're just really hitting more on the compromise that, again, we talked about last week. The character it's all about our values and our principles, right? That's where our character is really, that's the foundation of where our character is built on. But compromise is then when we make concessions, when we make we lower our standards, potentially, possibly, right? Because the reverse of that would be, I could also make concession and raise my standards. But in most cases, when we look at compromise, it's really from the perspective of I could be lowering my standards, and I'm just accepting things as they are. I'm accepting this relationship, not thinking and understanding that, knowing that I'm compromising, or I'm giving up a set of my values or principles because I want to conform, right? I want to belong. I don't want to cause no waves, right? I want to stay in the kiddie pool. I don't want to get in the ocean because I don't know how to swim that well. So I compromise. Does that make sense? So it's when I think about this whole character to compromise, and why I asked the question of really what does compromise look like? That again, those are the things that, again, we think, and I think we do unconsciously, right? We do it unconsciously, meaning that we just adapt, right? We conform, right? Instead of transforming, we conform, right? Instead of going into the situation, allowing ourselves to really be an influence, we are getting influenced. Again, losing our power, right? Now giving up our position on the ship. Now not becoming or staying the captain, I'm now a crew member. Now, there ain't nothing wrong being a crew member, right? That just goes back to being self-aware, knowing and understanding my role and my position. But you also want to make sure that you put yourself in a position where you can add value, right? And that, again, your character is not being compromised, meaning that I'm not conforming because I don't want to cause waves, but I want to be able to add to the relationship, I want to be able to be a stepping stone so we can continue to grow and develop.
Awesome. Yes.
So that was my understanding, Copper.
Well, I mean, I think the only thing that I would consider adding what kept coming into my mind in remembrance as you all were sharing is Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. Right. What stands out to me is the idea. I could almost sense and hear people beating themselves up for compromising. Right. It's the normal human response or reaction to beat yourself up for compromising. And I think a piece of that is appropriate. But also, in terms of moderation, it is often appropriate to compromise.
Thank you.
So the consideration is, how far are you willing to compromise, or when is it appropriate to compromise? And so then I'm led to Ecclesiastes 3:1-8 that says there's a time for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die. Not literal life and death, but like situations will begin and situations will end. A time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal. See, this is Bible. A time to tear down and a time to build, right? A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Come on. A time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. And so what I'm sensing in this hour and season to encourage you is that before it might have been okay to compromise, don't beat yourself up. There's a time to compromise and there's a time to not compromise. And I sense very strongly that what we're bringing to the table is, even in its okayness to not compromise, it is the time to not compromise. Okay, it is the time to no longer compromise. And as we're bringing up like the consideration of what is a compromise, go back and watch last week, like what does it look like to compromise? Sometimes it's appropriate, but you got to be discerning. So what is, just be appropriate in your timing of your compromise. And it is all appropriate. So that's what's really standing out to me, is the appropriateness of the time, and to also strengthen somebody, to give you an encouragement that you don't have to compromise in this season. So I hope that adds to the conversation.
If I could jump back in, can I jump back in? I know me, I'm sorry. But
don't need no permission.
Because that's so good. One, brother, I appreciate you putting positivity on it, because I think there was a lot of negativity to that. And the reason why I say that is because compromising, just like you said, again, there's a time and a season for it. And compromising isn't always bad, right? Sometimes depending on where we are in life or what the compromise is for, it actually could help, right? Yes. Again, there's a time for sowing. There's a time for reaping, right? But again, you can't reap if you didn't sow, right? So there's a trade-off, right? But here's the thing. You don't want to compromise so much to where you just completely give away yourself. You don't want to compromise yourself to the point to where now you're not who you are. Now you're trading value for value. You're taking someone else's value and then not respecting your own. Like, that's the type of compromise we don't want to do. Now, here's the thing. Not saying that your value and their value is wrong. No. It just means that your value is your value. It's your principle. Right. It's your foundation and what you stand on. And I think this is very important when we think about our compromise and what that really means from that perspective. So yeah. I mean, there was so much in that. That's all I could remember at the time. But that there was so much in that, and that was good. That was good. So because compromise isn't bad. I mean, we have to do it sometimes, and that's okay. Yeah, it's okay, right? Like, just understanding. Yeah, I think it's more important to understand how you're going to compromise. And that's what it was. So that's even going back to even in the very beginning when we were just talking, and Ian was just dropping again, just the faith factor. So let's think about the faith factor when compromise. How many times have we compromised our faith? I would submit that if you have trust issues, that is a compromise. Because now at that particular point, you're at you are now putting yourself in a position. Well, do I trust? Can that happen? I don't know if that, can I do that? No, that's kind of, I don't know. You see what I'm saying? So now you're not standing in faith. You're standing on your own ability. So now you're trusting in your ability instead of just giving the rest and leaving that to his ability. My ability can only get me so far. So then I have to compromise and say, okay, Lord, I've done what I can. You do the rest. And the reality of it is he's ready for it. Right? He's just waiting for you to just make the compromise. Right? Sow and reaping. I'm done. But that's so good. So good stuff. I might have to watch this about 6, 4, 7, 8, 10, 18. We're on 18 times. 18. I might have to watch it 20 times.
We're work on wrapping it up, fellas. What's up?
Yeah.
Final thoughts.
That's awesome. And we know everything is perspective. And I think that's really what we're getting at. It's about perspective. And too often we limit ourselves with perspective. We limit ourselves. We don't give ourselves opportunity to expand, because I can't expand. I can't grow without some pain, some stretching. It's just like there are certain things that I really don't have to go through to know that it's a bad thing, right? In life, in general, there's certain things. But then there's other things that my mama told me about, my cousins, brothers, people told me about. And guess what? I went and did it anyway until I figured out I shouldn't have did it.
Mm-hmm.
But that expanded me by me going through those things, not based on just what somebody told me. Guess what? It expanded me. It gave me an opportunity to expand, because I still had to take the lesson. Like Ian said, every loss can be a lesson, right? So I needed to recognize that, and then only then could I be stretched some more, be stretched a little bit more to be a better person, to listen differently next time when someone tells me something, without having to go figure it out and get in trouble or have something happen to me because I wanted to do my own thing. So I think that's kind of, for me, that I think that's one of those defining encounters for me, that I recognize how important perspective is in life. And I always use that example with police. Police pull up. If it's 30 people, they're not going to just try to go talk to one person. They want to talk to many people as they can so they can get perspective. It gives them clearly, because if they just go off the one person because of that person's experience, who they are, how they live, it might not match up with what really happened just because of that one person. But if they get the perspective of the 30, they get a clearer picture of what may have really transpired at the scene.
Come on through, bro.
Okay, yeah, because he said perspective. He said perspective, right? And I loved it because he went there where I was going to go, because you're talking about experience. Like experiences play heavily into our ability to gain perspective, because that's the lens in which we look through, right? That's our ability to connect with it. That's our ability to gain understanding, right? The other aspect of perspective is also not just the experience, but the knowledge gained, right? The lesson learned. That is where you then gain a different perspective, because now it's not just experience. Now I can move it. I can maneuver it, because now I can take my experience and then I can add in my what I learned from the lesson, and then some other information. And then I can start, you see what I'm saying? Like now everything starts to come together a little differently. I can make a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that it's right. It just means that now you have a perspective. Now you have something to build off of, right? Now you have something that you can use in the sense of when you are now faced with a compromise, you now can gain a little bit more perspective because of the experiences and knowledge and lessons learned from past. So I'm done. I'm gonna mute my mic.
Wow.
No, I'm not. Let's go.
Lorenzo.
You know, I'm really just listening and taking it all in. And the thing that comes to my mind to share, if I were to give a last word, it's what are you holding on to? This is a general question, even an inquiry that I'll give of myself. What are you holding on to that you need to release in this season? And what is keeping you from taking those next steps? What is causing you to compromise in places where you haven't been intentional around compromising? We understand compromising can be a strategy, but sometimes we are compromised because of whatever these things may be. So I sense a grace to be released from that which compromises you in this season. And there's so much more, but you would call me crazy, but just go into that inquiry. And I believe that something else is going to open up so powerful because this conversation has generated this opening, right? This is what this conversation has led me to is what do the inquiry and do the work because there's a grace for release.
Amen. First of all, as we wrap, man, I just want to say I love you guys, man. I
love you too, bro.
We've been watching these prelims for the Olympic Games, and I'm seeing all these powerful athletes running these races and, accomplishing these amazing things. And like sometimes I sit back and I'm listening to you guys, and you guys are like passing the baton and just sprinting. I'm like, man, these giants, coming through, getting the gold. So listen, if you've been rocking with us, man, we appreciate you. We love you, man. But I just want to give a shout out to my boys, man. Don't take for granted what you're hearing. If you're hearing it, it's for a reason. You're here. You've tuned in. Whether you're hearing it now live or you're going to hear it later on one of the recordings on YouTube or maybe even on Spotify. We see you. We're here for you, and you're getting some game from several areas. You're getting experience. You're getting wisdom from on high, divine revelation. Really, generations. I mean, we're at this point. It's like we getting it from the ancestors. So this is game changing, life changing, transformational messages, information. So. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for investing in yourself, for sowing in yourself by just putting the headphones on or putting the iPods in or whatever and just picking up the game, man. We hope you run with it. If you listen to it, I want you to reflect. Think, what will you apply going forward? What will you do with this information? What will you change about how you've done and how you've thought up until this point? And the next level is what will you teach? What are you going to take back to the next generation? Because this is what leadership is about: life, leadership, and community. We going full 360 around here. This ain't about just looking good on the job. This is about looking good on the job, looking good at home, looking good in the mirror to yourself, feeling good, feeling great, being the best version of you.
Yeah, you said teach.
I'm sorry, we ain't doing no recycling. So if you're falling short in the past, if you looked in the mirror and you saw some trash, don't recycle yourself.
Right.
So we looking for the best. We looking for the best, and we here to help you figure out what that is, what a purpose and everything that comes along with it. Go ahead, Sherrod.
No, I was just going to say, man. You said just get there, but teach too, right? And that's how you build communities, right? When you talk about life, leadership, and community, the community aspect is again, you don't keep it for yourself.
Yep.
Don't give it, and in teaching, you will learn. Right. And then learning, you will teach. So it's all cyclic. right? The more you learn, the more you can't hold it in. Then you tell someone, and guess what? You just taught them something.
Yep.
Or you expounded on something, or you just, again, now you're sowing seed. You may not see the harvest, but sow the seed. Get the information.
Yes, sir.
I'm done because I'll go in, but yeah, this is just because it's just been like every conversation has always been a blessing to me. So even though I know we are prayerfully always blessing other people, but again, in our ability to give, we're also receiving, right? And that's that's so important because that's the only way we're able to give what we give.
Yeah,
we're able to do what we do. Is because again we're also reaping from it, like Ian said, these aren't something we read in the book, not all of it, right? It is what we read, but then it's also what we applied.
Mm-hmm.
It's the application, right? That's where evolution comes from. Yeah, the butterfly or the caterpillar didn't become the butterfly just because by design, but by design it had to go through some things. It had to go through some stages, right? Yeah. Exactly. Because that was how it was designed. So what I'm saying is just take to heart this information. And if it's not for you, that's okay. Pass it on to someone else.
Yeah.
And be a blessing to someone else. Right. That's community. Life, leadership, and community. And
we on social media. I mean, like, share, and comment. Come on now. We out there peeping. I got the eyeball coming up saying 1, 2, 3 folks is watching. Go on and jump in the chat. Rock out with us. You know what I'm saying? We have the door is open, the table's set. You are invited to the conversation.
Always. I wanted to I forgot last week. I think I had to last week, but I wanted to give the shout out to the young lady who won the spelling bee. What's interesting about that is that the young lady, she actually holds several Guinness World Book Records with basketball. Yep. She's a beast.
Oh, wow.
So she's a beast. And I know LSU just offered her a full ride, scholarship.
In middle school.
So I'm most definitely want to shout out to her. Found out some other interesting things too. Just I won't go into that right now, but just about the spelling bees and in history. But yeah, just wanted to shout out her, man. Most definitely. I think her name is Zala or something like that. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, we wrapping up. This is the Brothers in Influence podcast, where we stand to encourage, inspire, and add value to Black men in the areas of life, leadership, and community. Of course, anybody is welcome to join in on the conversation. We love y'all. We hope you have a great week. We out.